why would you give up your dental hygienist job, become a software quality assurance engineer? Did you feel like it was too late for you to get started investing something for 16 years? Did you feel too late? Like,
Never.
you did not quit your job while you're studying.
No, I didn't.
How did you balance this study?
It took a lot of discipline. I'm going to miss the barbecues. I'm going to miss my friends, but I literally said no to every invite.
What was the most challenging things that when you were studying coding?
Coding was a little bit more challenging, so I wasn't very strong at math. It was very intimidating to learn, but I just took it day by day. I'm like, I'm going to focus on one logic, then I'm going to learn the next one. And Mokhtar's explanations make it so easy. Just the minimal things, like when your info sessions, you're like, forget Netflix, forget all this. Hanging out with friends, not being able to do that was hard, but I made time for my family. How much is the TV giving value to your life?
Until today, the job market hasn't get back to the old Renaissance date yet. When this happening, what was your psychology? Did it impact your psychology?
No, because I'm a type of person, I don't like to surround myself with any kind of negativity. I like to live in my own bubble. I don't watch the news. I don't listen to the radio. I don't listen to other people's opinions. I block everything out. I told myself I'm not going back. I already did the time. I sacrificed everything I learned, not going back to my old field. Because my bosses, they're like, oh, we'll see you back in a year. Not going back. People are like, you're not going to find the job. The economy is really bad. Not going to listen to them either.
So thank you so much for your time, Sahar, to coming to our podcast. I know you were a dental hygienist, and I did look up. It is very decent income.
Yes.
And why would you give up your dental hygienist job and become a software quality assurance engineer? Financially, it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So before diving into that conversation, I want you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Okay, so my name is Sahar, but Americans call me Sahar. It's easier to pronounce. I originally came here from Iran. I lived in Turkey for 5 years. I should say I was born in Iran, grew up in Turkey for 5 years. And I've been living in this area, Arlington and Alexandria, for the past 35 years. My parents were immigrants, obviously, so life was a little different. I grew up less money than most, but my brothers and I worked so hard to get to where we are. My oldest brother is a physician, and I decided to become a dental hygienist. And I was working for about 16 years as a hygienist, but I'm all about the quality of life. And I got to a point where my health wasn't 100%. I was starting to get back pain. Then I had to have emergency back surgery. That's when I had to rethink my future. I'm still fairly young. Can I do this for another 20, 30 years? The answer was no. So I had a coworker who had the CYDEO program. She went through it. She's very successful. At that point, I reached out to her. She said, of all these people here, you definitely can do it. And that's all it took. I had one lunch with her, and I decided to enroll the next session.
I do not feel like it's a very easy decision because most of our students are coming from service industry like DoorDash, Uber, or restaurant, right? It's very easy value proposition. It's like they just make the decision. I was like, of course, if it's better than what I'm doing right now, it do make sense, right?
Yeah.
But in your case, I think dental hygienist, it takes 2 years.
Yep.
And you work for 16 years, which is like in total 18 years of time and investment.
Yeah.
And with 16 years experience, I would say probably way more than 6-figure salary. And any dental office, you can get a job like this, right? So at what point that you finally just like, this is enough?
And it doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but I actually, in my mind, I make more money now. I got a little bit of a price cut or pay cut, but I make more money now because I went from working 5 full days to working 4 days to getting by 3 days when I was a hygienist. Then I couldn't walk anymore. Then going to work from 9 to 3, 9 to 2. So that income was being diminished as well. So I was working less hours because I physically wasn't capable. Then I think
Okay.
the time that I had to use a cane to get to work, I said that's enough.
I would say that means that the biggest driver for your decision was not money. It was
Yeah,
not finance. It was the hours of work and life balance, as well as your
yeah,
health.
yes,
One day, also my dentist is pretty famous guy. He's been
yeah,
doing his operation 25 years
yeah.
in Great Falls. One day I was there. He was just can't walk.
It's
He
painful.
couldn't walk that day. And he was just like, "Oh, I have so much back pain." And then I realized people in some profession you make really really good money, but at the cost of your health and your
Yeah.
happiness. And I think that was one of the biggest decision for your.
Yeah, and I was at the same office for 16 years, and my bosses were in the beginning, they're like it was like aunt and uncle. There were I was young, I was 22. I've been there this whole time. They watched me grow, get married, have kids. It was the hardest decision, but they totally understood because my boss herself, she had multiple back surgeries and she was barely 50. And so the same time I had my surgery, she had hers. And then next few years she had to have another one. And I'm like, do I want to go down that timeline? And the reality is I'm comfortable doing what I am. I'm even hybrid going into the office 3 days a week and 2 days at home. But the hours that I put in, the work that I do, I don't feel it on my body. I don't see it getting taken away from the kids. I'm in better spirits. I'm much happier. Pain will do a lot to your personality, to your mood. It really takes away a lot of the quality of your life. So overall, I'm so much happier and I don't know, it's just a blessing.
Oh,
Don't regret it a minute in my life.
very happy for you.
Yeah.
So now, did you feel like it was too late for you to get started investing something for 16 years, well, let's say 18 years, and you're like at certain age? By the way, you look very young, but I,
Thank
I don't
you.
know how.
I'm 40. I'll be
You
40 in a
no,
few months.
I'm not gonna. But the thing is, people they assume after college age they can't
Yeah.
study anymore because you have to study before 24, 23. After that, it's just too late. Did you feel too late? Like
Never,
you
never,
you didn't feel too
never.
late.
There are people going back to school at 60, 70. Looking at my brother, he had to come to the country when he was 19, 20. He had to, when people are halfway through college here getting their degrees, he had to start a community college. He had to learn English. Then he had to get his bio degree. Then he couldn't get a job or didn't know what to do next, so he got his master's. Then he went to medical school. And he only got successful at the age of maybe his mid 40s. He spent so much time and investment. I feel like it's never too late. And being in the healthcare field, it's kind of like technology. You can't ever just learn something once and sit on it. You have to learn every day. I love being a nerd. I'm always studying. And with healthcare, I'm always opening up books. What's new, new technologies in healthcare. Same thing. Do you think right now I'm sitting at home like collecting checks? Of course not. I'm still attending your classes. Like every night on the weekends, I'm still studying. I'm still on Discord. I'm still meeting the newer students.
that's
Yeah, never too late.
that's amazing.
And never stop.
So let's say you did not quit your job while you're studying, right?
No, I didn't.
Because obviously people need some income
Yeah,
cushions,
yeah.
buffers, kids. So how did you balance? You had to work
Yeah.
and you have kids
Yep. 2 kids, 2
and
boys.
you have to study, which the program is very intense. It's not like, let me watch the
Very.
video now,
Yeah.
let me pass the test, now I get a
Yeah.
job. It's very intense. So how did you balance the
It
study?
took a lot of discipline. So, what I would do, I had to go to work at 9. Kids had to go to school at 8 at the bus stop. I would wake up at 5 in the morning, study until about 7, 7:30, get the kids up and ready, head to work, and then come home, feed them, go to bed at 8, and then from 8 to 11, I would start studying again, watch the videos, and the Saturday classes, my husband was understanding. When I say like 9 to 5 or 10 to 5, that was 10 to 5. I'm there. That's when I come out of my room. This was so painful because it was during the summertime. It was everyone's Memorial Day barbecues, everyone's at the pool. I have never been so pale in my life. So staying indoors, I'm like, you know what? It's only 9 months. I can do this. I'm gonna miss the barbecues, I'm gonna miss my friends, but I literally said no to every invite, and everyone understood.
Yeah, but there's a detail many people they forget to see. It just reminded me when you say your husband understood.
Yeah,
It is extremely important to have support from the family.
100%.
Yeah, imagine your husband is not happy with that. It's going to be very difficult for you to be successful in your
Yeah,
career. I'm pretty sure the strategic trade-off that you guys did. For example, you did say no to barbecues, parties,
yeah,
because you said no to many things. Now you have yes for higher quality
yes,
life. I'm pretty sure today your kids and your husband is able to spend more time with you
yeah,
than the dental, right?
yep,
So I just reminded me one of our wonderful student. She was from Colorado Spring. I'm
mhm,
not going to mention her name because I don't have consent from her.
yeah,
Also, she said, for 9 months, my husband cooked, washed the dishes, did the laundry, everything.
mhm,
Right. That's why I was able to focus on study. I do think it's very important part. And I have 4 kids,
nice.
and I believe one kid is a two full-time jobs. So
Mhm,
like if you have two,
yeah,
it's a responsibility of 4 full-time job.
yeah,
So waking up at 5, studying for 2.5 hours. Now at 7:30 a.m., you preparing your kids, dropping them off to the school, go to work at 9, come back at 5, prepare meal for your kids
mhm,
after what, 7 p.m. you said?
yeah, 8 when they go to
8,
bed,
let's say
yeah,
8 p.m. to 11, study until 11 p.m. and
yeah.
whole Saturday you're booked, you're studying.
And Sunday is my planning day, so I would plan for the week of studies, like anything I could get done, any assignments, any projects, any videos I can watch just to get ahead of the week. I do that on Sundays.
Were there a point that you were like so frustrated and just say, I have a profession, I don't have to learn this much, I don't have to sacrifice this
No,
much, I'm just gonna give up? You didn't have that idea?
nope. I had the grit, the motivation. I kept saying, "It's for my family, it's for my kids." What is it being a mom if you come home at 4 or 5 and you just have to lay down because you don't have the energy to get up because the work was so physically hard on your body? It's yeah, now I come home the days I go to work, there's a lot of traffic, obviously, in this area. I get home at 6, but I am up, I'm happy with the kids. I have 2 hours with them on those days. I'm cooking, we're laughing, hanging out, watching a movie. So much more different.
I'm not sure how to put this together. The other day I was watching a podcast
Mhm.
and somebody was saying, if you want to have happy kids,
Yeah.
make your wife happy. If she's
Yeah,
happy, your kid's gonna be happy. I'm 100% like, I'm married for 20 years. I
congrats.
100% agree with that. Probably your happiness is not now reflecting on your kids as well. Their psychology,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They totally understood too. Kids are smart, and my kids at that time were maybe 6 and 8. Yeah, 5 and 7. Yeah, so they understood. They knew that mommy's studying, mommy's gonna get a better job, mommy's gonna be a cool coder, like whatever whatever they were saying, they were very supportive along with my husband.
So something that I believe, my wife told me something very interesting the other day.
Mm.
I get lots of compliment for my skin. I do social media, right?
Yeah,
Kuza,
yeah.
what is your
Yeah, yeah.
skincare
Well, it's
routine?
great. I was looking at it too.
I was like, I don't know, but sometimes I mention to my wife, I remember my mom, she was drinking lots of water
Yeah.
and she was taking care of her skin so well. And my dad, that guy was like, he was in Russia, Central Asia, Europe. He was doing business all the time. I didn't see him much, but I know my mom, she spent time, took care of her skin.
Yeah.
And somehow I mentioned to my wife, and my wife says, you know what? I think it's important for people to see what their parents do. Subliminally, it impacts their thought. Now you have good skin, probably that you're subliminally impacted by your mom. As a man, you
Yeah.
have a skincare,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Many men is not normal, and it's also shameful for our
No,
culture. Oh,
no,
you're a man.
never.
How do
You
you
have
do that?
to.
Right? Seriously, right?
Yeah.
I'm from Central Asia.
Yeah.
If men do skincare, they're like they will laugh at you, right? But I don't care because I've seen my mom, right? And then I believe when your kids at that age looking at mom is after 16 years of career learning something from scratch, learning coding, algorithm, right?
Yeah.
All this stuff, probably it's going to also impact their thought process as well in the future, and to be open for new opportunity, new ventures, risk taking. I think
Yeah.
all these things you're setting up such a great example for your kids, isn't
Yeah,
it?
thank you. My older son, he's very into STEM. He's into science and math, and he's learning Python himself. He absolutely loves it. When I'm doing Mukhtar's Python classes right now, and he always wants to watch with me. So they are especially proud, and that makes me feel really good. It's so worth it.
Python is probably one of the main language for artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
especially making agents. We're going to talk about later. But can you imagine that he started writing Python code at 9? I've learned coding when I was 27. It changed my life. Probably you were learning coding at age of 38, right?
Hmm.
Our kids or your kid is learning at 9. He's already knowing Python, and from there, I'm just thinking, what is the possibility for their future when everything is empowered by amplified by technology or artificial intelligence, isn't it?
Yeah. They start young. And in the evenings, dinner time, I have a pack of cards. I like to ask them questions like, if you could go to the future and learn one thing, what would it be? My 9-year-old said he would go into the future, find the one product that's innovative and makes a lot of money, and bring it back here so we can create it now. Like, this is crazy. I'm like, if it's the future, what if you're the one that created it? Like,
That is so crazy. I don't think I was thinking about
I
that
don't
thing when I
even,
was
yeah, I
9.
definitely
Yeah.
did it.
People 35, they don't think about it. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah. So what was the most challenging things that when you were studying coding? What was the biggest challenge that you were set?
Coding. Coming from healthcare, the way we learn healthcare topics, a lot of memorization. So I have like a good photographic memory and visual. Coding was a little bit more challenging. So I wasn't very strong at math growing up. And it was very intimidating because I don't know, being an immigrant, every time I had a math problem, it's like the teachers were mean. My brother was like, how come you're not understanding this? Like it's like simple stuff. So it was very intimidating to learn, but I just took it day by day. I'm like, I'm going to focus on one logic, then I'm going to learn the next one. And Mokhtar's explanations make it so easy. So I would rewatch the videos. I would rewind. Sometimes a 3-hour video would take me 6 hours to watch. But that is one challenge I had. And I attended every session offered for extra help, like Avengers, all these things to take advantage of that. That and just the minimal things, like when your info sessions, you're like, forget Netflix, forget all this. I have never watched TV. I don't think I still got out of the habit of watching TV. Hanging out with friends, not being able to do that was hard, but I made time for my family instead. I
Yeah.
don't know, it just brought a lot into perspective, like, how much is the TV giving value to your life? Do you have to talk to that one friend you barely talk to that's not even close just because they're going out, for a little bit? I don't know, it just brought me close to family and what are things that are gonna help you grow instead of wasting time.
In terms of spending time with other people,
Mhm,
I want to also share my experience. I was this president of Uyghur American Association
mhm.
at some point. It was about human rights. Somebody, entrepreneur, businessman, all of a sudden now, like human rights, right? It's super cool. And I was getting lots of attention, right? So I had to spend lots of time outside. And I do think we have this emotional capacity, let's say a
Mhm.
cup of water. When you're done with that emotion, or you're getting it or giving it outside,
Yeah.
you don't see the necessity as a human. When you come home, you're tired, you're exhausted, you have no time to spend with your kids and wife, right? And then at some point, I realized I don't know how did I wake up, but I woke up one day. I was like, okay, what if today I'm pretty popular? People think that I'm successful. People think that I have money, whatever, right? And if I'm paralyzed today, what would happen to me?
Mhm.
So I was reverse engineering my like being a sick person, and then I realized, okay, the first week people was like, oh, he was a nice guy, he was helping people, stuff like that, and some flowers, some wishes, prayers, stuff like that, right? Second week people like just go back their life, nobody talks about you.
Yep.
Third week, like nobody cares, nobody give a damn about you used to help them a lot,
Yeah.
now you're on the bed that you can move. And then I realized, who is still with me?
Exactly.
Honestly, I didn't see anyone except my family. I didn't see anyone except my wife and kids. So I was
Yep.
like, okay, if you want to prioritize relationship, I know it's scary or crazy. Just imagine when you're in your deepest point, which is like this scenario is I'm paralyzed. I was like, okay, I am going to prioritize from the beginning my wife and my kids and my
Yep.
brothers, my cousins. So that's how I spend my time with now. I don't have time outside. I do not want to spend time with lots of friends. I have
Yeah,
very few friends now, unfortunately
exactly.
or fortunately.
Yeah, yeah.
But now I'm being friends with my family, with my kids. My oldest one is 17.
Wow.
We're spending time together. He's coming, working with me, stuff like that. And I think it's definitely what you said is important.
Yeah, it really puts into perspective. Kind of like, am I not going to these pool parties? But, if I wasn't reaching out to these friends, were they necessarily reaching out to me? Then I'm like, let's put priorities to my parents who called and checked up on me and my studies, offered to take the kids on the weekends, which was great. I had more time to study. My husband who fed us, like,
Did he cook?
kept us alive.
Did
Yeah,
he cook?
yeah, yeah. At
Awesome.
least helps the kids.
Okay.
I'll cook for us. I'll
Uh-huh.
make multiple portions.
Okay.
I like meal prepping type, and
Uh-huh.
then he'll help feed the kids. He's great.
So in terms of time management, right?
Hmm.
It looks like it was super packed. 5 a.m.,
Yeah,
7:30 until 2.5 hour study
yeah,
and
yeah,
prep the kids, drop the work, them to school, start working from 9 to 5, coming home, feed them whatever, put them in sleep, and 8 o'clock, 11, super packed,
yeah,
right? It's a super routine. And in terms of, I think that because you were able to like squeeze out your time from all this unnecessary stuff, you cut probably, I would say, not very important relationship. I would not say
yeah, yeah,
unnecessary.
yeah.
You
Exactly.
cut the stuff out from your life, like Netflix, social media,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I believe time is most important scarcity in life
Yeah.
because you can make money. You lose $24,000. You can make $240,000. Nobody says you cannot make that money. You can at some point in your life, but 24 hours is gone. You can never make it back. It's interesting. People like, I don't have no time. I was like, okay, bro, listen, that people have no time. You have 24 hours a day. So
Yeah.
it's about how do you prioritize your day, right? So when you take away people's money, they're very upset, or
Yeah.
they are very conscious about having a budget. For example, I make $6,000, 3,000 goes to rent, whatever. Like they don't have unlimited budget, right? They
Yeah.
don't just spend money like that. What they do? Well, I have $6,000. This is my rent. This is my payment. This is my insurance. This is my grocery, and I have to save this much. I have to make sure I don't go over budget because I can afford, right?
Yeah.
Money is something that you can make. Time is something that you cannot make. Why
Yep.
not just make a budget for time too? People have no
Exactly.
time budgeting skills at all.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons that you're successful that you were able to budget your time.
It's really important. And it's nice to have someone in the household that feels the same way, someone who values time. Like my husband will wake up at 4:30, go to the gym, come back just so we can switch off, responsibilities. 4:30,
4:30
yeah.
a.m.
Yeah.
Well, no wonder you guys are power power couples.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, since we got married, we're always reading books, time management, earning money, communication, just the psychology of everything. We're just always learning. And I don't know, find someone, doesn't necessarily have to be a partner, find a friend, someone that keeps you accountable that feels the same way as you do. Get up and go to the gym, like get up and study early. You don't need the hour of sleep, the extra hour. You don't need it. Just let it go.
So you were in the time when you were studying.
Mhm.
We have this unlimited zero interest time
Yeah.
in American, I think, economy after 2008 financial crash. So what happened is they started decreasing the interest rate at some point. It was nearly zero interest, 1%, 2%,
Yeah.
which is it's crazy for the economy. So economy was keep pumping and keep the bubble is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, especially tech market because the venture capitals they have free money. Free money means that the cost of money is not that expensive.
Yeah.
You borrow millions of billions of dollars, you don't pay that much interest. So what they were doing, they were funding lots of projects, especially tech projects. And then there was like the time for renaissance for tech market. So when you were almost graduating, I believe the bubble pops. I think it was around 2022. Elon Musk wake up, he buzzed Twitter. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna just lay off 80%. Remember that he was coming with the sync to the Twitter,
Yeah.
and he lays up 80% of people like in X, and everybody was like, oh, he's gonna go bankrupt, all this stuff, and and he didn't. I mean, their speed of building new functionality increased. I would say the engagement increased. All this stuff
Yeah.
happens. And what happened is, as if other tech companies, they were waiting for someone to get started because you don't want to be the first guy who's doing the mass layoff. Microsoft, Meta, right? Netflix, Google, and the fintech industry, everybody started laying off in around, I would say, 2022, 2023.
My husband was a part of it.
Oh, really?
AWS, Amazon. Yeah.
So until today, the job market hasn't get back to the old
Yeah.
renaissance date yet. So now, when this happening, what was your psychology? Were you discouraged and say, you know what, one time in my life, I want to change my career. I am going to the market in the worst time. Did it impact your psychology?
No, because I'm a type of person, I don't like to surround myself with any kind of negativity. I like to live in my own bubble. I don't watch the news unless it's something dangerous or like imminent danger. I don't watch the news. I don't listen to the radio. I don't listen to other people's opinions. I block everything out. I graduated in January. I put it on I believe in manifesting. I put it on my iPhone calendar, a random day in March. I'm going to get a job offer. And I left it at that. So I told myself, I'm not going back. I already did the time. I, sacrificed everything. I learned not going back to my old field because my bosses, they're like, oh, we'll see you back in a year. Not going back. People are like, you're not going to find the job. The economy is really bad. Not going to listen to them either. March, that random day that I picked, came and went. But on March 31st, I got an offer. So,
So approximately 8 weeks,
yeah.
which is very reasonable.
Yeah. And I don't know, you have to be your own cheerleader. You can't let your mind get the best of you. You just have to keep trying, block the negativity. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's two type of person or personality. One type is waking up in the morning, look for reason to be mad, look for reason to be negative, look for reason to give up. And if you wanna, I used to know a person. Whenever it's raining, the guy is sad and mad. I was like, what happened? Like in the morning, right?
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning, I pray, I work out, I take my shower, all my skincare, my fantastic,
Yeah.
breakfast, my coffee. I come
Mhm.
to work like a bomb. And I see the guy, I was like, what happened? The guy is like, makes me, when I look at the guy, it makes me feel like I want to suicide, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, what happened? Oh, it's like rainy, nasty day. I was like, man, do you know if there's no rain, we're gonna
Yeah.
die, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. You woke
why
up.
why would you look for opportunity to be mad and sad, right? I enjoy rain, I enjoy snow, I enjoy sunny day, rainy day,
Yeah.
everything, right? So I feel like there's two types of people. One is constantly looking for something to be like mad or discourage themselves,
Yeah.
or there's some other people like always looking for hope, always looking at the horizon, always looking up so they can move up. I think it's simply how your brain works
Yeah.
will decide where you go in life.
Yeah. I mean, ever since being a kid, learning English, being a part of a different community, I don't wanna say it was always a struggle, but it was always a learning lesson. And having the kind of back surgery I had, the pain I had before, the ability to not be able to walk, using a cane like an old lady, to being so fortunate to have medical advances, to do surgery, do months of physical therapy, and be normal again, that just changes so much perspective. I'm like, forget the weather, forget bad people, forget negativity. Like, I can walk. I woke up today. Like,
You're
it's a
mo-
great day.
I think when you see those kind of difficult things in life, like
Yeah.
health issues,
Yeah.
then you realize, right? People are thinking about their mortgage, people are thinking about their
Mhm.
work, their manager, somebody toxic at work, or they bought like three Dogecoin,
Yeah.
the price went down. They're so mad. But once that you have health issue,
Yeah.
you realize you may not able to walk, and then doesn't
It's
like
really
everything
hard.
becomes joke. Like, why would I be sad on this like
Exactly.
useless trash stuff, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, it took me so long to even like, I remember I would park my car before I knew anything was really bad, before I saw the doctor. The assistants at my job would come and lift me out of the car. It was so bad. I'm like, it takes me 10 minutes to park the car, get inside a building. I'm like, I have another 40, 50 years of this. Like, how can you do this? But it's like you have a new lease on life.
I think there's a concept called post-traumatic growth. Have you heard
Yeah,
about that?
yeah.
Do you
That's
think that,
exactly what it is. It's definitely for me, it's not PTSD. I feel so fortunate. I feel so happy and fortunate.
PTSD is
Thank
what?
God.
Post-traumatic
Stress disorder.
stroke. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can look at that way,
Yeah.
post-traumatic stress disorder. But I do think that, people like us, you're
Yeah.
immigrant, you went to Ankara and you came to United States, all the difficulties that you
Yeah.
have to, overcome in life. And also me too, I came from a pretty difficult background. So as I mentioned earlier, you can have two different mindset, right? One is PTSD. Everything reminds your victim. Everything reminds
Yeah.
that, you were victimized at some point, you got disadvantaged, all the stuff. Or you can say, you know what, this one, post-traumatic what growth, right?
Yeah.
After such a trauma or health issues, then you wake up to a real life. Then you're like, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to have to decide for the rest of my life what I want to do. I think that mindset is one of the most important reasons that you're successful. I highly doubt that Java made you successful or coding made you or algorithm made you successful. I think the algorithm that in your mind, the
Mhm.
way that you process information and life, that was probably one of the important reasons that today you have a happier life.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you have to be, thankful. I don't know if people are religious or what people believe in. I don't know, believe in yourself, believe in anything, but yeah, it's amazing.
So during the study, like you guys do group studies, right? You have
Yeah.
you have friends, stuff like that. Did you have anyone in the group that was always saying, "Oh, Elon Musk is laying off people. Economy is bad, interest rate is high. What we're gonna do?" Like constantly focusing on what would go wrong instead of like
Yeah.
focusing on themselves. Did you have someone like this in the group? I think every group
Yeah.
has one.
Yeah, yeah, every group has 1 or 2 or 10,
How did it
but
impact your psychology? Did you?
I didn't listen to it. What I did was I participated in every mentor session. I created my small bubble of groups of people from my batch. And then towards graduation, I created this whole study server where I had people turn on their cameras and be comfortable speaking. We went over questions. And I kind of monitored the conversations. Someone would come in, start talking negatively. I'll say, let's focus on, the task, let's study. But it worked out well.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just
Uh,
have to be honest with people. If you don't wanna hear it, you can politely tell them, like, "Let's change the subject."
I have this also this thought, right? If something smells bad, right, and
Mhm.
you grab a stick and start, how do you
Yeah,
call it in English?
yeah.
How do you call it in English?
Like,
Like,
poking at it,
yeah,
yeah, stirring the pot.
yeah. If you let's say there's a pot, something smell really bad, right? You
Uh-huh.
can just start like stirring it, right? It's gonna smell even bad,
Yeah,
even worse, right? You just like close the pot, throw
put
it
it away,
away,
yeah.
so you will not be impacted by the bad smell. I think the bad mindset, bad communication, somebody always talking something that is negative or pulling you down, like
Yeah.
don't poke it or don't stir it. Just stay away. I
And
think.
these people generally don't wanna hear your happy opinions. They're not gonna change their mind. So, it took me many years to get this down. My husband gave up maybe 10 years ago. If someone tells him the sky is green, you're like, "All right, great. I'm so happy for you. The sky is green."
There's a
And now I let it go.
there's a metaphoric story. One day, donkey and wolf start arguing. Donkey say grass is orange, right?
Mhm.
And the wolf is looking at donkey, bro, it's green. Then they start arguing,
Yeah, yeah.
and then finally they go to Lion King. I was like, dear king, we have this argument, right? And donkey says the grass is, let's say, what they say, orange,
Orange,
right?
yeah.
And the wolf says it's green. And then the lion got so angry and then say, donkey, you can go now. And then he beat the crap out of the wolf. And wolf is like, why would you beat me? You know it's green. It was like, why would you argue with donkey?
Yeah.
That was an interesting story I read.
Yeah, yeah. It I don't know if you realize when you start to engage with these people, like, you feel like your heart rate is increasing. I'm like, "Why am I uncomfortable?" I'm like, "Why am I even talking? They're not gonna change." Just let it go. And that applies to my work. When I started working, I am the only female in my group,
Mhm.
and it's really nice. But going in, like speaking to stakeholders, they kind of want to go past you a little. I don't know, just where was I going with this train of thought? I don't know, being optimistic, being assertive, like standing your ground. I don't know. Now everyone comes to me and We're like a big happy family. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
really nice.
amazing. So, when you were in the interview process,
Mhm.
what would you say what was the most difficult thing when you go to interview? Anything that was you were not expected, you were not prepared? How would you advise the people in the job market right now?
So I don't know if people know that are listening, but I'm very similar to Max and his personality. Like him and I don't know, we're the same kind of person. I think you can go a long way with just communication. The way you talk, if you don't know the answer, if you want to think about it a different way, the hesitation, I don't know, the way you present yourself in an interview goes so much further than the knowledge you can show. My fear was I think every student's fear is, like, technical, because like, you study, but what if they ask you something you don't know? You have to figure out how you want to address it. My one of the interviews I went to, he was asking me, like, "But can you do this? But can you do this with this machine? But can you do this?" And I kept saying, like, "Okay, sure, why not?" "Okay, yeah, I can do it." Like, he seemed like he couldn't find anyone to do these things. I'm like, "Yeah, we'll figure it out. We can do it. Sure." And the feedback that I got was she's very laid back, and that's someone we want on the team. Someone who's agreeable, will work with us. So overall communication, and I for that I listened to a lot of different podcasts, a lot of reading. I don't know if you've heard of Vin Jiang. He's Australian and he does a lot with communication. There's someone named Anna Papilia, I think that's her first name, or Papalia. She has a book called Interviewology that goes through different types of interviewers and interviewees.
We're gonna put the book in there.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
really good.
I'm gonna read that book. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many different people. A YouTuber, Madeline Mann, she's an HR person that helps with interviews. I watched all these people, and Vin is the one who talked about having a healthy pause with communication, not using filler words like or ooh, like just be happy with silence.
Hmm.
Take 30 seconds, collect your thoughts, let them know, like, let me think about this for a little bit. Yeah, those are my strategies for taking the interviews.
So interestingly, I found that I remember I grew up in Chinese education.
Mhm.
Math was so difficult. What would I do is I wouldn't study during the semester. I would just play with my friends, stuff like that. And 1 week before the exam, I would just lock myself in a
Yeah.
room. Maybe 1,000 problem I would just solve in a week. After a week, like my math is pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I'm ready to take the exam. I think technical skills, just like you have to repeat something
Yeah.
1,000 times, then you're going to be really good doing that thing. But I realize communication or language or body language, emotional intelligence, it's not something that you can quickly just lock yourself in a room. Let's say, I want to learn data structure and algorithm. And you go into the room, you just study for every single day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. For 2 weeks, you're good. You can take the interview now. But I believe when people are developing their soft skills and communication,
Mhm.
it's not like that. It's not like
It's very
before
hard,
like
yeah.
interview in 2 weeks you can just like prep yourself magically you become that good communicator. How do you recommend people when they're studying or want to develop their communication skills?
Yeah, so the person, Vin Jiang, said, "If you wanna be a public speaker and you're nervous," he said I believe he said, "Record yourself speaking." He said, "First, watch the video without sound so you can see what you're doing with your body." Then he said, "Turn off the video, just listen to your voice and see how you're talking. Then take that same voice, transcribe it to see in writing how many ums or uhs or unnecessary words you're using. Start from there." For me, historically, seeing patients, I was seeing maybe 8 patients, 7 patients a day, every hour. It was like speed dating. Everyone. I had like an 80-year-old man, like a 40-year-old female attorney, like just so many different kinds of people. That helped me kind of cater the conversation to relate to them and how I can speak to them. Some people didn't want to hear too much. Some people wanted to really talk. Some people were really nervous. It's kind of like talking them down off the ledge.
Hmm.
So that helped a lot. I mean, obviously, not everyone can see patients, but you can do the same thing by striking up conversations with strangers, practicing with people you don't know. And that's a perfect situation with school. You have at least 100 classmates. Pick 4 or 5 of them talk to every night, practice interviewing, practice a conversation, give each other feedback.
That kind of reminds me, once upon a time, I couldn't get any job, so I applied for a dealership.
Mhm.
And because only pay your commission, it's like a free labor. They got me anyway. So they sent me to sales training, and there was a guy, his name was Steve. Oh my God. He was probably one of my best instructor in my life. He taught me sales, and I was the worst car salesman because one of the problem is I couldn't sell. Like I didn't believe the product. It's like it's a freaking used car, right? I mean, it's freaking used car, right? How do I sell the used car, right? I've learned so much. I tried so hard. And then what happened is when I was in a tech job, like
Mhm.
then I realized my skills are kicking
Yeah.
in sales and communication. Now I'm talking to stakeholders, scrum masters,
Yeah, it
like
really does
colleagues.
help.
Like I was like, all of a sudden, with bunch of like technical nerds,
Yeah, yeah.
and you're the guy. You're like okay technical, but you're really good at
Yeah,
communication.
yeah.
Do you think that people coming from non-conventional tech background, let's say retail, customer service, or
100%.
doctors,
100%.
they have advantage in the tech market?
Yes, yes.
How do you see at work right now? How do you see the
Well,
difference?
we just hired another QA and, he's still learning. It's only been a couple of months. I have to ping him. I'm like, talk, take charge. You can do this. Like, ask him the questions. For me, it comes naturally. Like, I can, interrupt for a little bit, throw something in there. I don't know. It's just very easy to talk. I'm not a very shy person at all. But definitely, if you come from a retail, even if you're an Uber driver picking up passengers, you still have to talk to some people. Like anything, literally anything will help you, any kind of background. You have to just use it.
Yeah. By the way, for those Uber drivers, like it's a fantastic way to communicate.
Yeah.
Telling stories, asking them questions, learning stuff. Also, you're gonna have so interesting customers that you might drop a politician to somewhere
Yeah.
or entrepreneur in somewhere. Sometimes the
Yeah.
information
You'll
they give
never
you
know who
could
you'll
change your
meet.
life. Yeah.
I had a lot of interesting patients, but 80% of the time, you're almost like the psychologist.
Your
Sometimes they will
therapist.
like yeah, yeah, like they'll dump their problems on you. It's very draining too.
Oh,
Yeah, and I was looking forward to just have a job where I can not talk for a little bit. I could just simply sit at my desk.
okay.
That's what my husband said. He's like, "You're such an extrovert. You're very social. Like, I can't see you doing this." But I'm like, or you can look at the bright side. I could be the one that communicates more in the team. I could be more face forward. And it's worked out so far.
Actually, coming from non-conventional tech
Mhm.
background became your competitive advantage
Yeah.
in a tech market.
Yeah.
So when you getting your offer, did you feel bad to ask for more money? How did you negotiate? Did you even negotiate the offer?
No.
You didn't negotiate.
No.
Why?
They were
Uh,
set, and the opportunity that I had, they had someone that needed sorry, I should say they wanted someone with years and years of experience. I made the cut. I was just happy to get the pay that I was getting at the time. I thought it was fair.
You got the offer and you didn't negotiate.
Not this
And
one.
I would say probably right decision because when everybody's laying off, when unemployment was pretty high at the time, having a job is a good job. Having a job that you can finally practice what you have learned.
Yeah.
Can you imagine without any like a tech experience from a dental office? Now you have an opportunity to say,
Yeah.
I've learned this. How do I even deploy these skills and tools in a real life? And I think the mindset is some people would rather look for a job in the market for 6 months just because they were not agree with $5 less hourly
Yeah,
rate,
you can't.
right? Bro, in 6 months, you're losing like tens of thousands of dollars, right? Some people would rather just keep looking for a job. And what I tell them is if this is your first tech job or any tech job, every company they have different culture, different product, different
Oh, yeah.
business process, different people. Some of the best teachers in my life were my colleagues. I know the
Absolutely.
guy, his name was Parda, really good guy. He taught me deployment. What do I know about deployment? He was our developers team were always doing deployment, and the guy was somehow was not available, right? So we were just waiting for the code. I was like, Parda, why don't you teach me deployment? The guy was so nice, step by step, screenshot. There were no ChatGPT that time. He
Yeah.
taught me everything. So now you can get a job earning and the learning. At the
Exactly.
same time, what is bad about that, right? Especially when the market is not good. I think people should be a little bit open minded, not only looking at the paycheck, but also what do I gain psychologically, professionally, spiritually? How do I become a better or more competent person? So they forgot that is income too, because it's not
Yeah.
only pocket, it's about your heart, your mind as well.
Yeah, you have these group of really nice people that you're working with, and the real experience is just gold, like hands-on experience and using whatever software that you're using that you may not have had a chance to pick up yet is just so valuable. When I got the offer, I asked my alumni mentor, I'm like, listen, I will be the only QA. They don't have a QA process. I will be in charge of doing everything, bringing my own framework, whatever programming language, starting from scratch. Do I do this? She's like, you of all people, yes. And take it. This experience is golden. You have to. And I did. And if I don't know something, I am not afraid to ask. Right now, where I picked up Azure and I
Mhm.
can add that to my resume. The new colleague that I hired, he's into Python. And I'm like, you know what? I really like his framework too. So I'm like, well, let me learn Python and see what he's doing so we can maybe collaborate in that aspect. I know it's just the opportunities are endless.
When you were studying or in the market, I don't remember. It was like 1 or 2 years ago, I guess.
Yeah.
Was ChatGPT popular at that time? Did you guys use ChatGPT? Did it help you to find a job
I
studying?
oddly enough, it wasn't while we were in class. Either it didn't occur to me to use it or we didn't use it. But I think during the interview process when we were graduating, I think that's when it became big. Like if I didn't know how to if there's a task I didn't know, I would look at ChatGPT to try to learn it better, or I'll say like explain this logic to me so I can learn it a different way, see if it can be explained a little better. But up to this day, I don't really use ChatGPT. I like
That is very.
Perplexity.
That was. Oh, you use Perplexity.
Yeah, I
Oh,
love
okay.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Same. Like it's a
Now,
lot.
everyday life,
Hmm.
yeah, I use Perplexity in so many different ways. There's so many conversations that goes on with stakeholders. They're throwing out letters and the terms for their software. I'm not going to interrupt anyone to ask. I'm going to just go to Perplexity. What does this company use? Like, what are these acronyms? And just look it up and do some quick research.
I catch something pretty important. You said I'll ask ChatGPT to explain to me, right?
Yeah.
So many people they use ChatGPT is like, hey, just give me the fish, right? They just take the
Mm-mm.
fish
No, no, I
and
want
they're
step
like
by step.
done, right? They cannot catch the fish themselves. But what you're doing is, hey, give me the fish, but tell me
Yeah.
how did you get this? How did you catch it, right? And then you're learning catching the
Yep.
fish. This difference is going to make huge difference in
Yes.
people's life
Yep.
while somebody just using it without just copy pasting the answer
Yep.
where you are understanding the answer than using it.
Yeah,
That's a
like
huge difference.
most common Java problems, I'll have Mokhtar explain it. Muradil will explain it. My classmate will explain it. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do ChatGPT. Let me see what ChatGPT says it step by step because I'm also very visual. He'll break it down. Yeah, I'll just use every kind of resource.
Do you think ChatGPT will make people lazy or like incompetent because
Not
they're
at
highly
all. I
reliant?
used to think that maybe people are using it to just get stuff out faster or not use their brains. But right now, just by utilizing tab 9, there's so many extra keystrokes I've noticed that I'm doing that is wasting seconds, a minute. You're not asking necessarily to like finish the whole page. But if I just want a simple print statement, like it already is a little bit ahead, you can just kind of go through with the code much faster than you would typing each item individually.
By the way, for those who don't know, Tab 9 is coding assistant, I believe, AI
Yeah,
coding
yeah,
assistant. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And you can use it on PyCharm, IntelliJ, Visual Studio Code.
Do you think the
It's
job
great.
market is messed up because recruiters using AI to sort resume, candidates are using AI to write resume, AI written resume sorted by AI AI algorithm, and an AI interviewing, and people in the interview. I've seen some like a AI cheating kind of lifetime, like live you can cheat. It's you just put it on your Zoom, some plugin or
Oh
on
my
your
god,
screen.
I have never seen
No,
that
I've seen
before.
it on the
Wow.
camera. The other side is
Oh,
asking question, right?
yeah.
And then AI is listening and immediately on the screen giving the answer, and the guy is just reading it, right? Let's say you didn't even know this, right? You didn't know this. Let's
Yeah.
assume that you're in the market, you're looking for a job, and you're so honest, you don't want to lie, and you're honestly taking the interview, let's say 8 out of 10, and you did pretty good job.
Mhm.
And now somebody, technically, let's say they're 4 or 3, but they're good at cheating. What they do is they go to interview and they pay like $49 subscription for that cheating software. This guy is doing live interview. And because AI can answer every question, now he is, let's say, 9 out of 10. But this guy technically not good. He's not reliable. But unfortunately, when people making hiring decision, they probably will choose that guy because he did better because he cheated. And you didn't cheat. You did honestly.
Yeah.
How do you think that's going to impact the tech market? Well, how would you feel?
Obviously, it's bad. If you read or listen to that book, Interviewology, there is a person that was in HR. She actually had the 4 interviewers. She had a study and it's published. She said that she used to go with people. Let's say I'm the interviewer. I'm like, hey, you're really nice. Like, who's that? So positive. He's so happy all the time. Because you're just picking someone like you. That's another thing, too. You can't always, like, if you want to quiet, like someone who's super technical, is just going to focus, not talk too much, we may not want Cosette. I'm joking.
Yeah.
We may want the guy who's just really quiet and focused. He may not be talkative. So reading that book will be valuable. You do have to have someone, a recruiter or someone in HR that is a human that knows what they're doing. I do feel like all this AI is getting that human touch out. It's really hard to get your resume out there because I guess there's software that will help you mass apply too. I also get random emails that they're not looking at my resume. They want someone with like 15 years experience with tools that I don't use. So I think it's just too cluttered. If you can get lucky, or if you're using LinkedIn, the best results I've gotten is speaking to the actual recruiter. And there are recruiters that contact you like via LinkedIn or Dice. That might be the best bet. And a lot of networking with people in the field on LinkedIn
Yeah.
to get rid of that AI aspect.
I think it's also important to educate people making hiring decision and recruiters as well.
Yeah.
There's lots of responsibility, like social, ethical responsibility as well. It's just not fair that somebody's just using AI to answer all the questions and getting the job.
Yeah.
And just because others didn't cheat, they're not getting the job. It reminds me FTX, for example, the guy who did the crypto scam.
Hmm.
Or I would say WeWork was also a scam as well. WeWork, Adam Newman, he scammed lots of his investors, and then his company was losing so much money. Before IPO, he had to open his like accounting books, and it was just miserable, right?
Yeah.
And then WeWork almost went bankrupt. I think in this today's economy, people's ability to lie
Hmm.
became so important to their success. And if they're getting rewarded over and over and over again, and honest people are getting punished and punished and punished, there will not be like any honest people left in the market. So if we want honesty, if we want like real success, real innovation, I think it's also responsibility of hiring managers, recruiters to be aware of this kind of things and start looking
Yeah.
for way to kind of solve this problem. I was
Yeah.
thinking if all the resume written by AI and it's sorted by AI, at some point I thought if I'm not in the
Yeah.
job market, but if I was in the job market, I would just like open my webcam and sit in the room that they sure that there's no AI, they can see there's nothing
Yeah.
cheating. I'll just explain, hey, this is me, this is what I do, this is how I end up in tech, this is my contribution. And I want to be here because I know that the resumes is written by AI, interviews taken by AI. If you're interested on genuine human being, take a look on my YouTube video, right? I would
Yeah.
put my stuff in there. I think that could be a way to stand out from this
Yeah.
AI mess.
In that interviewology book, she was saying that employers need to have standardized questions that they ask every candidate. Because at the same time, you'll have the interviewer just using AI to ask, like, okay, what questions I'm going to ask this person. And it's different for every candidate. If you have one standardized approach and you're interviewing 10 people, then you can see who has the best answers, who will be more beneficial to the role. So, yeah, there's a lot that needs to be changed. In fact, it's been almost a year that I'm at this company. I just found out last month that my director never even looked at my resume. He just says people I never look at resumes, people lie on it. He actually didn't know that I was pretty new to the field, but what he did was he had an on-site technical interview where I had to do end-to-end testing and API testing, and he just let me be in person, did my thing. I presented it to him,
Yeah.
and
He's one of the rare
yeah,
diamond
yeah.
in the
Yeah,
industry.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
a wonderful
Yeah.
guy. Very fortunate.
If you look at resume, oh my God, people are writing stuff. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
they
good to
they
have
claim they're
base.
Superman, and you just have to
Yeah.
ask them to fly and say,
Yeah,
"Hey,
yeah.
can you really fly?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very old school. I loved it.
I also never look at the resume. I
Mhm.
take a walk. I go for hiking. I don't hire
Yeah.
hundreds of people, so which is very can't expect from everyone. But I think if you cannot have a genuine conversation with a person, it's always filtered, right?
Yeah.
But let's say you go for a team dinner, right? And
Mhm.
there you can see the guy, how they're interacting, taking a walk. And even if I have to do interview in person, I would say, listen, don't show me the filtered, okay? A different person, show me who you are.
Yeah.
The reason is if you show me who you are comfortably, because you don't want to pretend you are a different person for the rest of your career in my company. You want to be yourself.
Yep.
If you are yourself, if I am myself, if you like us and we like you as is, that means this relationship is going to continue. But if you have to pretend to be somebody else in the interview, and we thought we're hiring somebody else, and you have to show up in the work and every day pretending, aren't you going to be like, isn't it tiring? Like life is
Yeah.
short. Let's be like, the happiness is also important. The mindfulness is also important. If you don't like us or we don't like you as a person, as a culture, whatever the reason, let's move on somewhere else that we fit better. I think
Yep.
that's a better approach that I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah. Yeah, the way he did it is he checked my technical skills, and then he had a conversation with me at the end, and that's it.
He's the guy who will save the IT
I
world.
know. God, he's so brilliant too. Like, he's an awesome person. Yeah.
That's amazing. Could be a good mentor as well, to learning
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I treat everyone like a mentor, no matter their age or experience. Even our developers, I think I'm more closer to the director and senior director's ages. A lot of the other teammates are maybe in their 20s, barely 30, but I still learn so much from them.
When you
Never
have
age.
ego, you can learn. When you can
Yeah.
learn, you can grow. Unfortunately, many people like, oh, I have this diploma. I graduated from George Washington or something. I don't know,
Yeah.
right? It's just like give them an excuse that they shouldn't learn from somebody 19 years old
Mhm.
or 17 years old. Like some of these kids are crazy. Their idea is crazy. And I do also learn from, for example, Mukhtar is 10 years younger than me.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes I have to shut up and listen.
But we always listen to Mukhtar.
And I will get the personal benefit out of it,
Yeah.
right? So in terms of your first day at job, were you anxious? Like what happened? How did it like a first day and first week go?
I just showed up and listened. I listen to the daily stand up. I walk around with a notebook all the time, and I'm always taking notes, and I'm always asking questions. I have no shame in asking questions. But yeah, I listen to everybody. I listen to what they're saying, what the project is, how far into the project they are. I absolutely had no idea, even high level, what they were doing, because who knows, anytime you go to a new job, you're never going to know the project. And it took like at least 2 months to fully understand what they're doing. But yeah, I think just listening and asking questions, because they know you're new, they're not gonna assume that you know everything. And
Yeah.
I'm also training the new guy, and I helped select we did, like, interviews for 3 candidates I was a part of, and I selected this particular person. I gave my feedback on everybody. His technical skills are very strong, and he has different approaches to testing different things, different devices. His ideas are crazy. I loved it. And, as someone who is an equal, a normal person would feel threatened by it. But I said, I may have the communications, I may have the soft skills, I may know the project, but I think having him on board, it would be like 50-50. It'll be like that full cup of water that you need to get this project going. And it's been great. And I'm learning a lot from him. He's learning a lot from me.
I don't know how to heal those people with psychological insecurity.
Yeah.
It looks like you're not insecure.
No,
You're
no,
you're
no
pretty
insecurities.
confident.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you understand that you don't know everything,
Mhm.
accepting it, and also that means that that gives you like the realistic assessment of yourself. And you said
Exactly.
when you see somebody more technical or something is they have a better competency in different area than you, when different people come together, that's why we need team to get things done.
Exactly.
I think that's something that you have
Yeah.
that contributes to your success as well.
Yeah.
One more thing that I realized just from your what you said, until 2 months, you were just asking questions, have no shame asking questions. It
Yeah.
means that you're observing, you're learning,
Mhm.
you're taking notes. Probably I would say you're going home and you're reviewing your notes and Googling
Yeah,
ChatGPT,
yeah.
Perplexity,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
stuff, right? And I had to let go of one of our employees
Mhm.
last year. One of our team member hired someone as instructor. The person came in and after 3 days started throwing people under the bus because she had like 20 years of ESL experience, and I had a guy who was immigrant with a little bit accent,
Mhm.
and he was teaching ESL for like a 6 months. And the guy worked really hard to develop the curriculum, stuff like that. And there's more context of his curriculum that he designed for ESL for Tech curriculum because he's a foreigner, which is genuinely second language for him.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
English as a second
Yeah,
language
yeah.
is genuinely second language for him. And he had to learn English after a certain age. And he understand,
Yeah.
people coming from that background. Also, he had to learn tech later. So not only learning English, he has to learn tech, and both starting from scratch after a certain age of life. So the guy worked really hard to develop that curriculum and start teaching. What the new person did is she's like, "Oh, I have 20 years experience. Like now I'm in the position to tell people how miserable they are, miserable they are, right?" So she started like finger pointing.
Yeah.
I was like, "Damn, bro, you came like 3 days ago. Come on, man. Spend some time to understand the context of why a certain decision has been made long time
Yeah.
ago." So if you even want to find out what people did something wrong in a company, not maybe with the first months, after establishing your understanding in the company culture, company business model, the team, the project, all the context. 2 years ago, they made a decision on, I don't know, some deployment issues, right? Or some cybersecurity patch, right? Or some framework. I mean, you cannot judge it from today's perspective.
Yeah.
You cannot judge the guy who was wearing diaper 3 years ago. In a different time, in different
Yeah.
stage, you make different decision. So without having context, they just judge people, right? So I would say if people learn from this, like you, until 2 months, like take your note, learn, don't finger point, don't throw people under the bus, don't think
Yeah.
that you know better than other people. Just because the decision looked dumb in the beginning, when you dig into it, oh, maybe 3 years ago, this was the way that they saved the company.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing that people don't understand this.
Yeah, and never snitch on anyone. It's like being in school. If something, I want to say if something goes wrong, because obviously you have to figure it out. But if I misunderstood something, I'll never say, well, this is the guy who told me. I'll just take ownership. Like, sorry, I misunderstood what I was told. Let me get it correctly. Do you want me to do this? I'll never say, like, even if it's someone gave me that wrong information. I mean, you're a team. You don't wanna throw anyone under the bus, and it's
So,
not killing anyone, so, yeah, have grace.
so recently we start a new project,
Mhm.
and it's a technical project in terms of software development, right? We do have development team. Now we're utilizing a lot of AI on it, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's from the requirement to the design, there's so many things AI is doing so well. When AI or intelligence become like commodity, what does that mean? We used to hire people for the things we don't know that but only they do. We paid for their knowledge.
Mhm.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, like, tell me one thing that that person knows that ChatGPT doesn't. I don't think so.
Yeah.
So now, all of a sudden, we realize no longer we pay people for what they know that we don't, because ChatGPT knows, AI knows, large language models knows. What do we pay people now? Can we trust this person's character?
Yeah.
Is he or she has principles? In difficult time, how this person is going to act in the company? Will they cheat? Will they lie? I think whether it's from the character or personality perspective, whether it's like what you said is communication, soft skills, because AI cannot communicate, cannot have the facial expression, cannot have the emotional intelligence because it's artificial.
Yeah.
When the artificial becomes so cheap everywhere, what's going to happen? Like, just imagine right now, like companies like grocery stores like Wegmans or Whole Foods or Trader Joe's is more popular today.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're more organic. When everything is artificial, organic is expensive
Yeah.
now. So when artificial intelligence is so cheap, now people will start appreciate more. Like people like you know, do not snitch, right?
Yeah.
Don't throw people under the bus. Don't finger
Exactly.
point like a day
Yeah.
one. Listen, learn, collaborate, teamwork. I think it's going to become way more important when AI is taking over the world.
Yeah. You have to show your human skills. You have to be compassionate. You always have to think about your colleague if they're having a good day or a bad day. Like if they're in a bad mood, they're probably overworked. You just have to put their feelings like in the forefront to see. Yeah, just let it
Yeah.
go. Yeah, you can't
I,
be combative and
I can kind of say now, no longer your success depends on Java or coding
yeah,
or Python. Your success depends on having the foundational technical skills, but human skills is gonna be the thing that will make you stand out in an AI
exactly.
driven market.
Yeah.
So, elephant in the room
Mhm.
is artificial intelligence, GitHub Copilot, Tab 9, Dev in, and every day there's a new tool coming in, and they're claiming they're going to replace all the coders in the world, and you no longer need developers anymore. And now you have quit your 16 years career in dental,
Mhm.
and you're working for a year. You're happy, you love your job, and then finally have a job that you enjoy.
Yeah.
And don't you think it's like it's disappointing to think that AI is going to take over your job? How do you feel that part?
I really don't think it can. Just being in the field and having the daily stand up, it's just what is it, like maybe 8 or 9 of us every morning. Sometimes we go on for an hour when our boss asks one of the developers, like, "So what went wrong? Like, what can we do? Like, how can we change the logic?" They're like, "Well, I suggest this." Then I do a lot of manual testing and I have 3 vendors that I work with. So that's, yeah, 3 different companies, 3 different POs. Like how can AI take over that? How do you get that conversation with AI? Like, are you gonna like tap in, like, hey, what are you gonna do next time to get the code better? You can't have that conversation with AI. You can't have AI go to each stakeholder and ask them how to make the next release better, or if like accessibility mode needs to have a fix, or just get better user experience. There is no human touch to it. Being in the dental field prior, I worked for periodontists, so we get the worst of the worst cases. Usually it's gum disease, like almost like end of life teeth and gums. So it was a surgical practice. I do this thing I did for every patient is I measure the gums by millimeter. And it got to
Individually.
individually 6 sites per tooth. And it got to a point where I'm not counting the millimeters. I go by the feel and the depth. Like I know exactly this much is 3, this is 9, this is, and it takes me like a minute to do each patient. They're coming out with ways to make it better for the hygienist. Like, oh, we got this robotic tool that's just gonna jump from every gum. Never worked out. No one got it. No one used it. It never was a thing. Then they're like, well, let's make the assistants legally do a job of a hygienist, but then they don't have the background and the knowledge, so that never took either. As much as you wanna try, you still can't take the person out of the career. You can come up with gadgets and tools, it's just not gonna work.
Also, I think most people screaming AI is killing the older jobs or people
Mhm.
have no clue how AI work, most of them.
Yeah,
It's like outsider, right? They don't understand
yeah,
technology, they don't understand industry, economy, stuff like that. They're just like, "Oh, okay, AI is taking over." Probably they learned philosophy, they got a PhD in, I don't know,
yeah,
philosophy in the Roman Empire or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, look at that. You learned coding." I don't know, maybe make them feel better. I
yeah,
am not absolutist. Absolutist means either AI needs to take over the world or AI is useless. It's not about that. AI does really good job
mhm.
in terms of, I would say, repetitive tasks
Exactly.
that was
Yeah,
existed before. I use this analogy of Gordon Ramsay,
mhm.
and he is the most famous chef. And imagine that he's occupied with washing dishes, cutting potato, going to the farmer's market, look for
Oh, yeah,
tomato, right? So now, if 90% of his effort spent on shaving potato, washing dishes, or going to the farmer's market, look for tomato, when the hell he's going to have time to create new recipe,
exactly.
preparing this amazing meal that people will enjoy, right? The reason that he is so successful is because there's a group of people working around him. So he doesn't have to do like low strategic, low level tasks. So he can focus on high level strategic tasks. And I believe AI is like that. If you're Gordon Ramsay of what you do, if you want to
Yep,
become, I mean, you're going to utilize AI for lots of things, but that doesn't eliminate your job. That will
exactly.
amplify who you are. That will help amplify your core competency. Don't you want to have like a bigger problem to solve? For example,
Exactly.
right? You guys are making software, right?
Yeah,
Until when you want to write code for like 2,000 lines code for login functionality? Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like, when do you gotta stop working on search? Why can't you just make something much, much, much better that is gonna solve end users, clients, such a big pain point? Like, if you are occupied with the search functionality, 2,000 lines of code, when are you gonna do that, right? Isn't it?
yeah. So, I went to Portugal this past summer, and when I travel, I like to speak in the language as much as I can. It helps me learn. It's respectful. It shows people that you're trying. Imagine like programming language is a language. I use a translator app. Imagine if you take the human contact out of it and I'm walking around with my iPhone and I'm just typing in like I needed a sandwich. I'm just not talking to the person. I'm hitting play and like here, listen to this. That's just an example of taking the human out of it. Like I could read how to order a sandwich and speak the language and you have that interpersonal connection rather than AI on my phone just walking around talking for me and I'm looking at this guy like I just don't speak. I don't know, it's just I don't know if you understand an analogy, like, you can't have AI replace everything, like, the human aspect needs to be there.
I would say AI is just tool, just a
Yeah,
vehicle, and it makes it easier to get somewhere like your destination faster, cheaper, better, safer, maybe.
yeah,
But still, you have to get there.
yeah,
You is important, not the AI. And if you look at AI as an amplifier or enabler, your life will change. But if you look at AI, oh, okay, AI is going to take over life. Like absolutists, either it's going to destroy the world, either it's going
yeah,
to make everybody unemployed, or is absolutely useless. Either AI is going to do anything. I think that is the problem in today's society. I would say AI is super useful and we have to
yes,
use as much as possible. I have a cat. I was talking about like if what's going to happen if my cat eat chocolate this morning. I was going to make a new garden bed for my garden. I was
mhm,
asking AI to design it for me. No, seriously. It
yeah,
does great job. It's amazing. But it's not like AI is taking over the world. You just have to
no, no,
learn and become a better person using AI and a more, I would say, empowered person using AI.
yeah, imagine, starting new test steps or running scenarios just by having the page set up for you instantly so you can just quickly type in your code, it shaves so much time off. Imagine like opening up a page, putting the main method. I don't know.
Yeah, I
When I
mean,
utilize tab 9, it's
absolutely.
so quick.
You don't want to spend your hours and hours on basic things that just like typing.
Exactly.
Let
And you
AI
know, and
type.
then you waste that time trying to type it, but then like the logic or the genius you have, the idea is like slowly you're forgetting it because you're just doing meaningless tasks of like typing up just to set up a page.
So one time, right, I was working on a call center app.
Mhm.
So there's like a bunch of developers developing call center app. Who uses that? Call center agent.
Yeah.
Well, one of the meeting, I was just curious. I was like, hey, I'm just curious, developer Parda, have you ever met the actual call center agent? I was like, no. He's been writing code for call center agent for 2 years. It was a medical call center.
Mhm.
I was like, are you sure? Are you sure? And then, so we started asking that question. None of the team member developing app for call center agents, medical call center, none of them talk to any call center agents. I was like, hey, without understanding those people, what they're going through, maybe you think this particular functionality, you feel fantastic about how genius you are, right? You think that's so much problem. And maybe if you just literally sit next to them and watch them, probably they're cursing you.
Yeah.
Whoever the developer made this stupid functionality, god damn it, right? So why don't we just go one day, like, happy, like a colleague trip to go to a call center? Actually, I proposed that, and we had fantastic experience. Call center agents were so happy, and they were
Mm.
giving us lots of feedback. Now you tell me that's not going to come from AI.
Yeah.
If we can save 20%, 30% of our time from writing repetitive code,
Yeah.
like a login functionality 3000 line, right?
Yeah.
We can actually talk to people. We can actually think about, what are the segments of the customers using this app? What are the retention problem? What if the guy has disability, or the older person, younger person? Now we can think about how we can make it better for them. I
Yeah.
think that's how AI can enable us.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a great point.
Let's be honest.
Mhm.
How much AI do you use for your work?
I would probably use it 30% of the time. And a lot of it is research
Okay.
because these vendors are coming out with new releases and there's a lot of new technology that I haven't heard of. Like this new build connects differently to our network. I'm like, okay, so what about our network? Like, what do we use? Okay, I read about that in Perplexity. Okay, so why are they using this? Then I'm like, okay, that connects to this. Like, because I don't have any networking background. So I still use a lot of that I'm not doing much automation right now, but I am practicing with Python and I'm familiarizing myself with my colleagues' framework. But while I'm learning Python, I'm utilizing tab 9 to still write the redundant steps because I wanna learn, I don't wanna keep typing.
What is your company's position on this? Are they encouraging, discouraging, or saying nothing? What
They
they say?
don't care. They're like, "As long as you get the work done correctly." I actually had this conversation with my director. We were talking about AI and cheating, um, and he's like, "I don't mind people using AI, not for cheating, obviously, but for work. As long as they're getting the work done and it's done correctly, he doesn't mind if there's extra help." So he's open. We don't have any software blockers or anything.
Any concern about data security or company's trade secret, going
No,
to
everything we use is dummy data. Like my test lab, it's all dummy data. I'd never type in any personal information. I always give scenarios. Like, let's say I have this and I have to do it this way, like without naming names. That's how I search for it
so
without
your
giving
your company
personal.
they don't have a security or trade secret concern?
No,
I've
no,
heard many companies are like, you can't use AI because not
no.
because we don't want you to do the job, but we just want to
Yeah.
protect our
Yeah, yeah. I know
company
a
trade secret.
friend that is working in finance or banking and they can't use it.
Oh, that's sad though.
I
I mean,
know. And this poor guy is writing like 20 lines of code just to open a file.
like
and,
typing ABC.
and then he is always using Excel. So like each page is like another 20 lines of code.
I think eventually, if companies don't trust large language model that is created by, let's say, OpenAI or Google or any company, I think they might just come up with a mini language model. It doesn't have to know Roman Empire versus Ottoman Empire,
Yeah.
like have some context and good computation, good
Yeah.
reasoning. So it doesn't have to be that large, it can be mini. And if they start using that, I think each company is going to have like some sort of a mini language model in the future so they can allow their employees to use it so they can
Yeah.
save time. Instead of typing 20 lines of code for opening a file, they
Yeah.
can do research, for example.
There has to be a level of trust with the employer and the employees. They have to get out of that mindset of, they're cheating, they're not going to do the job, or why are we paying them if they got the job done in 15 minutes? Like, you have to let that go and trust the staff that they can get it done. If you have a lot of mistrust, it doesn't work out. You can't do that.
I think if I know anything about human psychology, they can block AI as much as they want. Developers or employees, they're going to use different computer VPN. They're going to
Yeah.
solve the problem, copy paste it, put it on the cloud, sending with email, find out way to transfer the solution or the code from some other source, whether it's from email or Google Doc, to their work. They're going to use AI anyway. They cannot stop. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
It's almost like with my kids, instead of making candy like this unattainable thing or you can't have it, I'm going to hide it from you. Ever since they were little, I always had a bowl of candy in the pantry within eye level. So it's not like a forbidden fruits. And they always ask if they can take a piece. So I think it's just by having it out there and using it responsibly without making this forbidden thing. So people have to go through loopholes and now they're like cheating. Yeah, I think if it's accessible, people will use it responsibly.
You have mentioned Perplexity
Mhm.
multiple times
Yeah.
during this
I love it.
podcast,
I don't
and
work for
you're
them.
you're lighting up right now. It looks like you really like
I
Perplexity. Is there
really
why?
like Perplexity because we use so many different kinds of software and different vendors, different companies. So when I look up something, it's almost like it's AI and Google. And with every line that it's describing what you need to do, there's little sources. Like you click
Like
on
a
one,
citation.
yeah, you click on two, and when you click on it, it'll bring up where it got it from. And it's normally like this PDF or like this knowledge base. And I'm like, oh my God, so the holy grail. So now I'm reading everything. Like, let's say if we're using Oracle, I'm like, oh wow, now I can do this with Oracle. So it's just Pandora's box. Like you open up this whole new knowledge base and I'm learning more about the software just because I asked a question. Like I even helped the developer create something in our Oracle that he didn't know how to do just by reading off the steps. And he's like, well, how do you know? And I'm like, I use this. He's like, can you send me the link? Like, what is this? Yeah, I'm even helping the team out.
So it used to be it's a job of a Yale graduate research analyst, right?
Yeah.
I want to answer for this. Oh yeah, by next Friday I'll prepare a PowerPoint presentation for you, right?
Yeah.
It requires lots of technical background and research and analysis. Now, like it's one query, it's one query in
Yeah.
Perplexity. It's amazing how powerful these tools are. And one of the problem with a large language model or ChatGPT kind of
Mhm.
thing is it hallucinates,
Yeah.
and it just come up with some crazy stuff that people like you think is really convincing and real.
I
And I've
can't
heard
do
like
it.
lawyers were citing laws or cases that doesn't exist in the court, almost got their like a license got revoked because ChatGPT was so convincing, right?
Yeah.
So it hallucinates. I listened to the guy who's I forget his name. He's a Indian guy. He's a CEO and the founder of Perplexity.
Mhm.
He was a PhD student. So in PhD, you have to write articles or research paper, and what they do is every single thing that you're mentioning in there, you have to show the source,
Yeah.
the citation, just what you said. And then once he was thinking like Google was like, you search for something first, like you have to go through every single like advertisement, sponsorship,
Yeah.
like a fake SEO optimization that normally the link is not qualified, but they figure out the algorithm and now they're
Mhm.
popping up in the first page. So you have to go to like 800 different page to find the freaking information that you need, which is extremely time consuming. So I think, well, why don't we use ChatGPT API, OpenAI API, or some
Yeah.
cloud, Anthropic, and then we're going to give the answer. But because large language model hallucinate, so now we have to show the source so it doesn't hallucinate.
Yeah.
So every single sentence or information in there, it's cited or sourced to particular article, research paper. So it was I think one useful things of a PhD study was implemented on Perplexity, makes it much reliable that I believe than the normal ChatGPT
Yeah.
answer. That
And
is,
then being someone who's very curious and likes to study, to have the sources, then I bookmark those sources so I can just go straight to it the next time or share it with my colleagues.
did you try the Spaces?
No, what
Well,
is
it
that?
has a Spaces too. I think Spaces is like a custom GPT. You can create tool that can do like a specific job.
Yeah, yeah, I think it was called something else.
Like it was
Yeah,
Spaces or
yeah.
something, yeah.
Yeah. No, I've seen that.
So you don't use ChatGPT that much.
No, not at all.
Recently, they released a new model. I forgot the name. I'm using it. It is also pretty cool. You ask a question. Used to be you ask a question, right? And it's boom, 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 just giving you answer.
Yeah.
Now it's like asking you a clarification.
Oh,
Who is
good, finally.
who is the target audience, right? And why would you ask this question? Whatever. Like they just have lots of like follow-up questions, and you answer the question, right? And then what it does is it doesn't immediately answer you. It's like I'll get back to you 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, and it's working in the background.
Wow.
I think that's a good thing because
Yeah.
instead of just like dumping the answer, it's actually spending time like a human doing the research. And I pay $200 a month for that
Mhm.
that version, but I used to pay $200,000 for somebody to do that job.
Yeah.
I hope that Sam Altman is not listening to my podcast and increase the price.
Yeah, because before that, I would ask something, I'm like, "Well, I don't know about this answer." So I say, like, "Are you sure?" And they're like, "Well, let me clarify or let me fix it. I would made a mistake." I'm like, "Well, now I don't believe you." Like, I just don't know if it's true or not. It's very
So
hard.
AI is like part of our life, part of our work,
Mhm.
everything, everywhere we're talking about AI, right? Do you have plan B just in case you're like, oh, what if my job is replaced by AI? Like, what I'm gonna do? People always have thoughts like this. Do you have thoughts like that?
No, I don't think it would ever replace it. I'm pretty optimistic, but, I mean, if that case ever happened, I would still be in this tech field. I think I would still do something along the lines like either sales or like business analyst or something. I still love the field. I would still stay in it.
Yeah, I just want to hear from your perspective. I do
Yeah.
not think the jobs will go away.
Yeah, I don't.
I do think that we're gonna have explosion of softwares in the world.
Mhm.
Used to be you have to be, we have this large employers, Google, Facebook, Amazon, tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of employees were employed
Yeah.
by them. I think AI is a good equalizer. Means that, let's say I'm working on a couple startup projects within CYDEO, and I'm just thinking pre-AI time, I would have to find this cocky developer asking for share benefit, I don't know, 20% of the company, $250,000 paid, right? All the
Mhm.
stuff, and then showing up attitude, right? Because that time, it was extremely hard to find developer in an architect level that can help you. And those competent, like the most competent ones, they were scooped up by big companies
Mhm.
because they can simply pay $500,000, where $50,000 is lots of money for small companies. This guy may have amazing idea, but he or she cannot afford the salary of $500,000 from Google or
Yeah.
Amazon. So these people with architect level experience, they're going there. Now all of a sudden you can't find a technical co-founder. Now AI can become your technical co-founder. That means that the barrier to entry for new startup is drastically decreased. You don't need like $18 million like seed funding to start a
Yeah.
company. You can have a very smart guy, like okay technical guy, a co-founder, and just know how to prompt really well. Now you might have product market fit or a minimum viable product, relatively small group of people, maybe 5, 6 people,
Mhm.
that you can do the job of 50, 60 people. That means that I believe the future of the tech job market is not going to be only dominated by the large companies.
Yeah.
It's going to be small companies doing amazing job, making super good profit, and it's going to be just lots of problems that they're solving that used to be people just don't have money to solve.
Yeah.
That means it's also an opportunity. You don't
Yeah,
have to
yeah, it
work for
benefits
Google.
everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to have explosion of the softwares or smart softwares, I would say.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I agree.
Is your company talking about AI agents or anything?
No, not at this time. Yeah, yeah, no, not at this time.
Okay. Let's not get into AI agents then.
Mhm.
So, couple final questions. What is your career that you feel it's going to look like for the next few years? Like, how do you want to grow from here? And what's your career plan?
Right now, I am just absorbing everything like a sponge. I am like thirsty for knowledge. I want to learn what my director is doing. Like, why is he doing it? Why is his boss's boss? Like, I watched him walk around with a notebook too, and he's everybody's boss. Like, and he still has to write everything down. I'm like, okay, well, that's never going to go away. I am the type of person, the tech field is very, casual. Everyone dresses casual. I like to dress up for work. I like to dress up for a future role. So I'm always dressed up. I like to make a presence. I would love to continue this, but I also want to see how it works at a business level too. So I would be
Hmm.
interested in learning that, maybe having my own team. I don't know. I feel like the world is my oyster. I have to see what opportunities I have.
So that's an interesting point, though.
Mhm.
As we mentioned earlier, right? People go to work to get their paycheck.
No, you have to think about the future.
That is so. That is it's such a wasted opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, don't you think people are trying to learn like business management,
Yeah.
project management, team building, strategy, all these things, right? Relationship at work. And either they have to go to Harvard, pay lots of money, or Yale, or I don't know, MIT, George Washington, these huge universities, and they're learning from the books. I mean, if it's Ivy League college, I understand they have like $40 billion endowments, so they can hire like top level
Yeah.
instructors or teachers. But if you go to like for profit colleges with not a lot of money, you will have a professor teaching your business, have zero business, right?
Yeah.
So it's just hard to learn a real skill set from books and somebody have never done that before teaching you entrepreneurship. Like, sir, like you're teaching me entrepreneurship. How many entrepreneurship venture did you have in your life? Oh, I started exactly zero startup. Now I'm teaching professor because I have a degree. I think that's the problem. The way that you're looking at it
Mhm.
is the things that people can't even learn in college.
Yeah.
They have to pay to learn. You're getting paid and learning. You mentioned your director a lot. Looks
Yeah.
like he's a good role model.
Yeah.
You're
Yes.
watching him.
Mhm.
His executive presence, probably leadership, strategy, like all the business aspect.
Yeah.
Now you're getting, I think, your MBA for free from your job,
Exactly.
probably.
Yeah, and then sometimes I'll ask his boss questions like, "So how do you manage your time?" Like, "I see you walk around with a notebook." He's like, "Yeah, this is how I remember everything." I'm like, "Do you ever sleep?" Like, he's always traveling. Like, they're like, "Oh, he's, visiting this state right now," and then suddenly he's back in the office. I'm like, "Well, where did you come from? How did you get here?" So, I'm always asking questions just in depth, and what I like about my director, it's you always have to have good leadership too. I have a lot of respect for him because he's like a servant leader. We had overnight cutoffs, and initially, we were figuring it out. Now we have a system, someone else is doing it, but I would be there too at midnight till 4 in the morning,
Wow.
testing the changes and everything. And whether it'll be done in 2 hours, or one time we were on a call for 30 hours, just taking turns, like, napping. He was there the whole time, and he doesn't raise his voice. He's so patient, and to have that kind of leadership goes a long way. Because if, like, the someone at top is panicking, everyone's gonna crumble. So he's very good at asking questions, finding a solution, or asking questions on how you can find a solution. Yeah, it's just, it all starts with a good management and what you can learn from them.
I think that guy is very good at choosing a person that is good culture fit. I
Yeah.
think you are a culture fit to that company.
Yeah.
And the
Definitely.
fact that he didn't even look at your resume, probably he was like, I trust a person's character
Hmm.
and culture. Now, you're lucky as well
Yeah.
because you're a positive company attracted you. You have a
Yeah.
really good positive environment. And I wish everyone can have similar thing. But some working environments are toxic, some managers are insecure, so
Yeah.
they would have to push down their employees if somebody is slightly, how do you call, outshine, let's say,
Hmm.
their managers, and that guy will get punished. So,
Yeah.
do you have
That's
any
awful.
recommendation for people working end up in a culture where leadership, instead of being servant, they're super insecure and everybody's like just like a micromanaging, watching out your shoulder?
So that's a good question. I have a fellow classmate that's in this situation, and he said that my manager doesn't like me. And right from there, I had to interrupt everything he was saying. I'm like, what makes you think that he doesn't like you? He's like, oh, he was asking me about some comments on a pull request and why were there 30 comments where, you could have done it in 3, but he was saying like, no, I did 13, someone else did like 20. And I'm like, that right there, you already know your manager is insecure or maybe not the happiest person. Stop right there. Don't tell him how many comments you put. Just say, okay, I understand. Next time I'll put less comments. Just don't talk back. Just leave it at that. Agree, say a way you're gonna find a solution and let it go. Because being combative is just gonna make them feel more insecure. And I do the same thing. My boss is great, but he asked me to do something a month ago, and then just the other day, he's like, "Why'd you do that?" I'm not gonna tell him you told me a month ago. I'm like, "No problem. I'll ask this person. Thank you." Just let it go. It's not worth it.
I think that it's more about emotional intelligence and politics kick in, and you have to
Yeah,
also learn that as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
So learn to let things go. I mean, you can always keep applying, find something you like. For me personally, unless I was out of a job, I don't think I would go from job to job. I like quality of life at work, and having a good structure and a good team basically is more important than
I don't think you were ever out of
money.
job just because I would say not because of technical things.
Yeah.
You're learning Python.
Yeah.
AI can do it, but
Mhm.
the mindset that you have, I think is way more important than that. And
Thank you.
I also talk to my kids.
Mhm.
My second son, he's very combative. Combative means that he loves debate and he
Yeah.
blames me. He was like, "Oh, I'm your son. Of course, I'm going to debate." I was like, "Son, listen, you're not focusing on what is right. You're focusing on who is right. You want to be right."
Yeah.
I said, that temptation is going to destroy you in life. Focus on what's the right thing to do. In your conversation, your boss told you something a month ago, probably he's busy. Probably
Yeah, you
he
have to
has
give them
probably
benefit of the doubt. Oh,
300
absolutely.
different employees telling the
Oh,
different
yeah.
things. And the guy forgot that he
Yes.
told you. And now he was like, why didn't you do that? I was like, you cannot, by putting the mirror, just saying, oh, this is your mistake a month ago. Like, what are you gonna
Put the
accomplish?
ego aside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you proved that you're right. He's wrong. But instead, the right thing is let go and just move on.
Yeah. You have to.
Amazing, amazing.
It's so I wasn't always like this. 10 years ago, I mean, I was at that last position, what, 16 years? For the first 5 years, I thought my boss hated me because, like, he would come in and he was like, "Oh, like, have you done this yet?" I'm like, "What, am I slow? Like, what do you mean, did I do this yet? Like, should I work faster? Does he hate me?" But I'm like, he probably just wants to move on to the next person. Like, it's non-issue. It took a lot of time to tell myself, like, it's not about you. Like, they're busy. They have a lot going on. He has so many projects. He forgot that he told you to talk to one guy a month ago. Yeah, you got to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Same that goes with my patients who were extra mean or grumpy. You talk to them a little bit, like you realize that their spouse had just passed away. Like, you
Yeah.
have to be a human. And I feel like AI can't even do that.
Like
Like, you have to.
I'm teaching my older son, he's driving. He's a pretty good driver. I'm
Mhm.
teaching him how to be a gentleman while driving because sometimes young kids, right, they get frustrated with somebody slow, for example.
Yeah.
As a son, every time I get frustrated, and then when I drive and see who is the person, it's some old lady driving
Yeah.
like this.
It
Like you never
hurts.
know what people
Yeah.
going through. Maybe their mom passed away. Maybe they got fired. Like you don't know what they're going through, right? So just have patience on the
Yeah. Have
traffic. I
grace.
think these are a good mindset that people have to learn.
Mhm.
One of the job that I quit was one of the best job I had because I thought that the company has too much politics.
Yeah.
And then because I didn't want to deal with politics, company politics, office politics,
Mhm.
I moved to a different company and that company was worse. And then I get another job that it was even worse. Then I got another job. Finally, in that job, I didn't care about nothing. So my life was easier.
Yeah.
So if people escaping from office politics, you're never gonna find a company that had no politics.
Yeah. The grass is not always greener on the other side. So,
So
yeah.
one last question.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna wrap up. I know that took
Yeah.
so long. I'm pretty sure people are enjoying it. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
been very useful. No, sorry. Well, two last questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
How are you learning now outside of work? Do you learn like new skills? Do you take course? Do you sign up for business seminars? Like, do you read articles? What do you do in terms of like keeping yourself up to date?
I like to talk to former students. I like to see what they're doing and their experience.
Your classmates?
Yeah,
Okay.
and even other batches, if
Mhm.
they're working specially, I like to see what they're doing. How is their work? What are they doing in the projects? Otherwise, I'm always on LMS, your learning
Oh,
website, always, always on it. Sometimes I'll catch a review session. I'm usually watching videos or practicing some kind of coding like Python. Articles, not as much, because I feel like I'm a type of person who hyper focuses. If
mhm.
I open up that article, then I'm gonna wanna research that, then I'm gonna go through, like, endless loopholes. Like, I like to stick to a lot of reviewing. I'll read some old slides that I have. Right now I'm going over just the basic soft skills again, just to keep fresh. It's true, like, if you're not using it constantly, you're gonna forget. So you have to
So nothing
always
crazy, but sustainable.
Mhm. Yeah,
Sustainable, just
yeah,
like a little bit a day, and but it's like very consistent
yeah.
learning.
Yeah, if
Okay.
I give myself 30 minutes, an hour just to watch a video or read up
Yeah.
on my slides.
Now
Yeah.
what I do is I talk to ChatGPT,
Mhm.
the voicemail. My wife was like, "You talk to her more than me." I was like, "It's weird if I change the voice to male. It's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
gay to me." I was like, she was like, "You talk to her more than me." But the thing is, I asked a technical question. I
Yeah.
said, "Can you explain me what's like, for example, give me an example of RAG application in AI. It's going to explain me all those things." And I've listened some news and they talk about some politics, some new bills. Let's say Donald Trump says something I don't understand from the political perspective. I was just like, I said, Donald Trump said this. Can you explain to me? Right? I just have this unlimited like, instructor in my pocket that I can talk all day long. And sometimes while I'm driving, I just have conversation. I know it's weird, but I've been
You learn a lot, especially if
I
it's conversational.
it oh, it is so crazy that it's so realistic, and also it's very engaging, and you can set the way of communication. I said, "Listen, don't give me technical jargon that I hate it. Give me storytelling, give me real use case, show me example," right? And then
Yeah,
it remembers, it has like a long-term memory now, and I don't have to introduce myself. Hey, I'm Kuzat. This is what I do. When you talk to me, I don't
it
have to do
remembers,
that.
yeah.
I open up, I just conversation continues. And I think that became one of my way of learning, just having constant conversation with AI. I, I know it's weird. One last question that I have.
Yeah.
Many people are in this dilemma of making decision. Should I get into tech or keep doing what I'm doing right now? And because if AI is taking over, the job market is not that great, which is true. It's not like pre 2022, pre pandemic
Mhm.
time. Eventually, I believe it's going to bounce back, but at this moment, it's not that amazing, right? We
Yeah.
had pretty tough economy for the past 4 years, and that's one segment of people. The second segment is people are Now they're graduating. They're going to go into they're going to start looking for a job, and they're anxious. They're anxious about AI. They're anxious about job market, economy, politics. You have been there, done that.
Yeah.
What would you tell them? Like, what's your advice?
My advice is let go of things you can't control. You can't control these things. So why stress out and think about it? What you can control is studying, brushing up on your knowledge, practicing talking. You can continue to apply. You can network on LinkedIn, like add the job, do the easy reply, message the recruiter that posted it. Spend all your efforts doing this instead of worrying about what the future is like. If I started thinking about what's going on at back home, what's going on today, like who's dying, what war is going on, I will be in fetal position on my bedroom floor. Like, yeah, you gotta let things that you can't control go and stop overthinking it. Just do what you can do now, like in your room, in your office, on your computer. Just start. Don't even, some people are, this is what boggles my mind. Some people don't even start applying because they're worried about not getting a job. And then they're not applying and then they're overthinking it. I'm like, or just apply. Like, just hit
Yeah,
the button, put your application out. Like, why are we overthinking applying? I don't know. There's so much that goes on into people's minds. Let it go. Just
yeah.
apply.
It kind of reminds me. I have to work a lot of. I think I should become a chief therapist for the students. I'm gonna have to go back and motivate them, stuff like that.
I'll be happy to
Oh,
do that.
yeah. Also, you have lots of experience.
Yeah.
Being a therapist for your
Yeah.
for your for your patients. What you said is profound. It's like weather, right?
Yeah.
Snowing, raining, hurricane. I don't know. By the way, I don't know why hurricanes all like Sandy, Helena, or it's not Abdullah. Can you
Finally, we have one thing that is like going.
can you imagine Hurricane Abdullah? Anyway, it's all ladies' name, but hurricane, all those things you can't control that, right? You
Mhm.
can't control that. I think geopolitics, for example, wars around the world, economy,
Yeah.
interest rate, for example, who's president, whether your favorite president or not, there are things that can't do anything. It's just like weather. It doesn't make sense to be sad, demotivated because it's raining.
Yeah.
You can't do nothing. What you can do is like, oh, it's raining today, so I cannot go out. Why don't we just like let's solve more problems. Let's practice more. Let's work out in my gym. Like whatever like it's productive, you can focus on that instead of, oh, today is raining. And for that reason, I think my life is going to be miserable.
Yeah, I
Uh,
never understood that. Even when I said my husband and I don't watch the news or anything, this man deleted the weather app because he didn't want that negativity in his life. Like, I have to tell him that it's gonna snow. Maybe
yeah,
tomorrow we don't do anything.
I don't recommend. I'm on Twitter, on X, for like a business and political purpose.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah,
legitimate
yeah.
reason, but I don't recommend because
I don't even have it.
amount of like either it's very distracting entertainment, like stupid things like TikTok or some useless videos, or it's like bloody, somebody's dying,
Yeah,
suffering. It's all like just like you have limited capacity in terms of time, emotion, intelligence, and the resources, and you don't want to spend the things that you have no control. Focus on
exactly.
yourself. Amazing podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time and
Thank you
effort.
for having me.
Thank you so much for being such a example role model
Thank
for many many
you.
people.
Thank you, thank you.
And I want to take this opportunity to thank your husband. Don't
Thanks.
know his name. Let's not.
Omar.
Omar. Oh, really?
Yeah.
My youngest son, his name is Omar.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Thank you, Omar, for supporting your wife and supporting your kids. And
Yeah.
he's it sounds like amazing husband.
Yes,
And I
absolutely.
hope that everybody watching this, if they're married, whether your wife or husband, once you get into a journey of changing your life, your profession, I think getting their buy-in, support is as important that you want to do it.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important reasons that you're successful today is he didn't pull you down. He was supporting you.
Mhm.
That's why I'm very thankful to him as well. And thank you for your kids.
Yeah.
And thank you for your time. Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you for having me. This was wonderful. Yeah, we'll have to do it again.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
Next time, maybe we'll talk about some AI agent stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Thank you.